All right. Put the cab back on. You can kind of see up underneath the ground light. See the two wires coming down. I just had them come over and glued it on the bottom side to support the LED. And then when that dried, I went around and did the same to the other side. And this wire that you see in the middle coming across, the black one, see how it's in series with the other ground light. And then the best way I could think of, because tolerances are tight on this, is I used a very small round Dremel and made me a channel on both sides. Doesn't look too pretty on here, but it's nice and flush. And normally I would try to just run up this right here all the way up to under the roof, since we're looking at it upside down here. But the width of your number boards and your light will interfere greatly if you try to do that. So I just come straight off there and made kind of an L on each side. So there's two wires that are positive, two that are ground. You can see the one that has a little solder on it. That's the one that goes up to the stand light. And the other side, you can see it where it goes. So I just put a tiny bit of glue, Elmer's, and you're probably not going to be able to see this. Let's see. Okay, right there in the middle where the light pipe for the headlight, I was getting a tiny bit of light bleed, and that's common for these type of models that have the light pipe. Right there at the back of the cab, there's a little bit of light bleed. So very, very little amount of Elmer's glue, and then I'll go back there and touch that up with a tiny bit of black. And it's just one in processes. You gotta little by little. So that is drying, or mostly dry. This is back together. Handrails back on. It's not coming back off. These two are the positives. I ran up one side, and then on the other side I've got my stand that's in the cab, and then this is for the ground lights. The ground lights, I use 1,000 ohm resistor, and I put it on. I had my wires mixed up here a little bit, because the first function in the 20s that I use is FX3, which is function 22, and that should, on mine, you can do it however you want. I'm just telling you how I did mine. Function 22 turns on the ground lights. They're in place, and until they're lit, I was going to wait until it was assembled, but then it'd be kind of harder to see. I'd kind of have to rotate back and forth. So I did hook it up temporarily and brushed just a tiny bit of the clear yellow on there until they both looked like, the way I wanted them, and to make sure that they were equal, that they had an equal amount on there. So the ground lights go to a 1,000 ohm resistor, and I had my green, my step lights should come on with what is it? Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've got it set up for 25, and it was flip-flopped, so I had to flip my green and my purple wire around down here. So FX3 turns on the ground lights. Again, I'm using a 1000 ohm resistor for that. And I also put it on brightness 1 and dial it down to about 25. And I'm probably going to play with that. That's, once it's all assembled, that's something that's easy to do. The green wire was for the step lights. And that's the only thing I have left to do, is put a LED under each 4 corners on the locomotive under the second step. And I series all 4 of those, and then that will get a 1000 ohm resistor and then go on to this wire. So when I turn on function 25, it does several things. On this one, it's gonna light up this end light and the front, both walkway lights, along with the stairs. So that will be on function 25. And then 26, let's see, I think that was the number boards. And then the next would be 27, which is the front class lights. And that doesn't require a resistor, yellow wire. I put in the LEDs in the back, and I've already covered that. Let's see, do I have it marked down? Class lights rear, I put a 2.7K resistor, and I'm pretty sure I said that on the last video. 2.7K resistor for the one LED that's back here, and it shoots down, and you see the light at the rear walkway. Okay, because you want to be able to turn on the front and rear separate, so I did that. I may even make them directional so they don't, only the right one will turn on. Or I could even map it over, right? Map the one over to the other and set it up as directional. That way when it's going forward, the front one comes on, the front 2 come on. When I go backwards, the back 2 come on. And then I only have to hit one function button to make that happen. But that's all in the programming, and I'm not there yet. That's easy. That's when it's all done. After the class lights, let's see, I think that's about it. Yeah, just all right, what I did for the stand, because I wanted a high resistor on it, and that's what, let's see, which one did I already put it on? Yeah, I put it on. It's a 2.7K resistor, and that will go to the stand, and but it's going to be pretty bright. So okay, the ground lights are on their own separate function. They're not paralleled, or they're not running into anything else. So I set that output to brightness 1. And I think I have them somewhere around 25. And again, you can play with that all day long once it's all done and set, finished. And then I wanted to do the same thing with the lights that are on the stand inside. So the 2.7K resistor basically just protects that light. It's still pretty bright. And I want to say, all right, so you have a brightness 1 and 2. So brightness 1 is for my ground lights, and brightness 2 is going to be for the stand. And with the, did I say 2.2? I think it's a 2.2K. Anything in that neighborhood will do the job. But when you set up the configuration for that lighting, make it brightness 2. And then I dialed mine all the way down to either 10 or 12. It's got to be up to at least, I think, 3 before it'll even light. But again, unless you're wanting to light the cab, these are just gauges, and you want them to look like gauges. So when the lights are dim, you can look in there and you can see that they're on, but they're not supposed to be a cab light. It can double as a cab light if that's what you want to do, but again, it's on its own function, FX8, and I think I'd mentioned I'd already mapped that over to the headlights. So anytime the headlights come on, it makes sense that the stand light would come on as well. But since it does have its own output for that, I was able to take advantage. I was going through the resistors, and I was all the way up to like 8 something K. I'm like, am I ever going to get the brightness I want? And then that's the advantage of this decoder. If you want to fine tune your lighting. And so with the ground lights being on their own FX and the stand, I chose to use those two on this model. Couldn't do it with most of the other outputs because they're paralleled off, and the front is kind of different from the rear. I could have done it on the number boards because that's 4 LEDs that are seriesed, but I found a resistor that was a good fit for that, and it was a 1K, and I know I'm repeating myself. The last video said that. So anyway, this is where I'm at. Now, those wires like everything is just, I'm not complaining. I like it when everything is nice and fits snug. I did go ahead and glue this assembly down, and it's a little harder to get the shell on and off, but there's a little bit of interference. So what would happen is I tried to take the shell off, and this whole thing would come up out of its 2 little pins that hold it in there. So I glued that. I shouldn't have to remove it. So the only thing that's really left, I didn't see any light bleed through the top or anything, is when I walk this wire around. I'm going to put it back on the body, or the main, not the body, the frame. And right along this ridge where the middle of my fingernail is, okay, it's resting on it. That's the top beam. And I want to put the body on it and then lightly scribe it to know how far out I need to be to run my wires for the step lights. And then as I'm working, it'll make more sense when I do the final video. I can just run it along with the pipes and all. You won't even be able to tell that, what that's for. But when I go up and hit that light and then come down around the front end and over to the other side, I am going to have to use the Dremel tool and make a path from the right side to the left side. And then when I go around the back side, I'm going to end up having to do the same thing. And then what I'm thinking is I'll just pick the side where the functions are on the body, which is backwards, the way I've got this sitting. There we go. So the functions are on this side. There's already, the green wire is already for it, and I can put a 1000 ohm resistor on there because I already know that's what I use for that. Wait, that's the green. Yeah. This one's a little confusing, but yeah, this will get a 1000 ohm on here, and I've already tied in the the walk lights. So that's all going to be on one function, function 25 or FX4, and that's a full output. So anyway, I'll do a channel for 2 more wires to come up on the inside of here. I don't have to put them together. I might put one on one end and one out this way, just whatever it takes to get the wires up to the top like I did here. And then when that's done, I can go ahead and reassemble it, test the brightness of the lights on the stairs, the step lights. I'll touch them with the yellow clear and get the resistor that I need. And what I used to use was, I want to say I just used a 1,000 ohm resistor, and that did the job. But I can't remember if I used brightness. So that's just something you have to play with. If they're just overly bright, then you need a higher resistor. So hopefully I'll knock that out tomorrow, and that will finish this project.